All right. Welcome to Ben's Den, and I am in the den with NMH Junior, Aiden Hanning from Merrimack. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So thanks always as taking a little time out of your day to chit chat with an old maniac who's a fan of wrestling. And in a time right now where there's not a lot of it going on, it's really exciting for me. I got goosebumps to even just talk some wrestling that's been going on. So again, thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. So obviously, what brought me to you this time was Super 32, and we'll get to how the tournament was, and what your experience was from a wrestling point of view. But I'm really interested. We were just kind of chatting before we got going about what it's like down there at NMH from an academic point of view, and obviously being a boarding school, what that looks like from that perspective. What I'm interested to understand is what was their position on you actually heading out of state and going down to a wrestling tournament, during a pandemic that has its spikes, its falls. Nobody's really sure at the moment what's going on. What was it like from your perspective having to go through the process of getting down to Super 32?
It was pretty tough actually. The night before I was about to leave, they kind of dropped the bomb and were like, "Yeah, you can't go." South Carolina is a state with a lot of cases, and there's not like testing for every athlete before going down there. And I understand, they're trying to run a safe community, and protect everyone on campus. But we figured out, a quarantine schedule that I can run. That's 21 days now. So I'm at home, and then I'll be going back to NMH on Wednesday, I believe. So we figured it all out, multiple tests that I need to run through. But no, it was definitely a struggle to get them, on my side, like pandemically, I guess. But they definitely, wanted me to compete and, show the world what I have.
So obviously, your dad and myself, we chat, and he keeps you up to date on how things are going with you. And one of the things that he had mentioned was you had written a letter to them, kind of stating your case. And
Yeah.
like, I'm curious, like when you sit down with that pen and paper, or maybe that's old school, the keyboard, however you did it, like what's going through your head when you're really trying to get somebody else understand your goal that they're not connected to at all. They have no idea the work that you put in the off season, the season, any of that. And during a time where people are exercising more caution than aggression, when you're sitting down to write that letter, what's that like, and what are the points that you convey out to them?
I mean, the whole purpose of the letter, I kind of, I, I understand that, they care about me as a person, and, they want me to be healthy. And, I kind of talked about how, I thank them for that. But at the same time, I haven't competed since February, and, it's had a toll on me mentally. And I was just like, this tournament means a lot to me. I've missed so many other tournaments that are smaller and more precautions just for this big one. And I kind of just explained, I had to, explain that this like tournament means so much to me that, this might be my last chance, get on the mat for months on end again. And I had to, prove myself to college coaches. And, they eventually, came on my side, which was nice.
Well, I can imagine the anxiety that goes into not only writing that letter and handing it over, but kind of waiting to see what the outcome of that is. What I make of your many years on the mat and battling it out prepares you for such things. So you get the okay to go. Obviously, it's kind of late. What's the training regimen like for you to get to Super 32? In this environment.
So at school I've been real busy. We wake up and we have a team lift. Then I'll have either, a small hour practice with Coach Bates and like one of my teammates. And then at night, I have soccer practice, and then I'll have another wrestling practice for like an hour, hour and a half. So, I've definitely got my time on the mat. And, I have to wear a mask for all those things. So my conditioning was there. I was definitely ready for the tournament.
Yeah, so the soccer this year is a new thing for you. I know you played a little bit as a youth, but as you've been in high school, your primary focus has been wrestling. What brought you to the soccer? Was it just like, hey, let me get some extra conditioning in, or is it, I like the game? What brought you there?
So basically, I have a bunch of buddies in my dorm that are soccer players, and one of the goalies on the varsity squad was hurt. He had a hernia, so they were looking, for a second goalie, and so they told me to come on down and try out on like the second or third day of tryouts, and I had a good time, so I thought, hey, like, I'm out of the room finally, because back then it was the beginning of school, so we were like trapped in our rooms all day long, because they were pretty strict with the quarantine for COVID, and I fell in love with it, and I've stuck with it through the fall.
So goalie?
What was that?
You're
Goalie?
playing
Yeah.
goalie? So what they do? They
Yeah,
said, hey,
I'm a
go
goalie.
go find me the whitest kid you can, and we'll put him in goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So you get, getting back into the groove of things, of how things are going down at NMH. You got some time on the mat. You got some conditioning in, and things are rolling down. And you make the trip down to this year. It's Myrtle Beach, which is a far better destination, as we discussed. Before we got going. It's a nice area down there. So you get down there. Was there a weight cut? What was it like? What was the prep like getting to the scale?
It was a pretty big weight cut. I was up at like 208. I was bulking. And I had a little chub on me, but still like 26 pounds is a lot of weight. But I got down there. I think I was 1 pound over on weight the day of weigh-in. So I did a workout with my club, and then hopped on the scale for early weigh-ins, and I made weight. So I mean, definitely I was a little sucked out at the end of it, but it wasn't too bad of a cut.
You got there, right?
Yeah.
So once you're weighed in, you show up day one. It's you had mentioned, I haven't really been in a competition since February. What's your mindset, just showing up and understanding, like, all right, it's go time? Is it a combination of nerves and excitement, or is it all, I just want to go out and wreck people? Where were you?
I just wanted to go out and wreck people. Flow Wrestling, they always put out an article like the night before, day before the tournament, and they write down all the ranked kids and all the contenders, and they didn't even have me in the contenders list. And that lit a fire right under me, and I had to prove to myself, that I'm good enough to compete with those top level kids, and to prove it to everyone else is a whole nother story. And I was pumped to just get on the mat and grab a guy and throw him around.
Yeah. I can imagine, man. That much time away from competition and quote unquote your prime. That's old guys like me and your dad were kind of excited there was a little pause. It gave us a chance to heal up a little bit. But where you're at, ready to go. I dig that. So match one, it looked like on the brackets you had a bye in the first round. Was there any
What was
bye?
that?
Did you have a bye in the first?
Yeah, I had a bye in the first round. I had
So
a bye, yeah.
looking at after your first round bye, you walk into your next match, gentleman Kyle Combs from South Carolina, and you beat him 5-0. What was it like? Obviously 5-0, decent lead, nothing to sit back on. But as you're nearing the end of that match, is there any kind of adrenaline dump from not being able to have been wrestling for a little while, or was it like, okay, that's great, let's move it on to that next one?
I wrestled pretty bad that match. I definitely had some rust, but it was good to just get that first one out of the way, get the lungs going, and as soon as I won, I was like, all right, let's forget about that, on to the next one, because at that tournament, it's a big every round just like gets harder and harder. You know, I didn't win a first round match there the past 3 years, so like to win that first one, you know, it felt good. You know, and I was pumped for, you know, the rest of the day.
Yeah, a quick moral victory like that out of the gate quick, and you know you have been known as a little bit of a slow starter at times. I make up is because you come in sleepy sometimes, but what I've understood is that you started to really understand the benefits of a really good hard warm up, and you know really utilizing that time to get going, and so bouncing out to a 5-0 first match at a tournament where you haven't picked up a first round victory is a nice way to get going. And right after that, you know, you followed up with a pin against another person from Utah, Lucas Cochran. And as you mentioned, everybody here, they you know, they all got credentials. There's no weak wrestlers there. They're all, especially this year where you had to be really committed to be able to make it to that tournament in your weight class. And so, you know, you follow that up with a fall. I imagine going 2-0 to start the day, you're feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah, no, I felt great. You know, the kid from Utah I'm pretty sure he was a state champ out there. So you know, he knew how to wrestle, and you know, to pin a kid like that, you know, you're on top of your game. So I felt really good. And to know that I only had one more match to win, to make it to day 2 was just, you know, nice to know.
Well, day 2, was that so 2 on the first day and then the rest on the second day? Is that how they ran it?
It was 3 on the first day.
Okay, so the
And then
next
the
match
rest.
was the kid Ian Bush from West Virginia, 7-2. You beat him. I believe this is the one that I had watched some of the footage on, and if I'm not mistaken, it was, you know, he was a really aggressive, strong wrestler, and he kept shooting at you, and your shot defense, it looked really crisp. I mean, catching that shot and immediately just driving in, and I believe it was twice you hit the you know the quick little stop, and then boom, pumped him right over, and you got 5 on one, and I think 2 on another. But it was just like you look really strong in your neutral game. Is that something you've been focusing on?
Yeah, no, definitely at Doughboys and at NMH, you know, we're definitely on our feet wrestlers. We don't worry too much about the mat. At least, you know, top game, at least, you know, we want to get on the bottom. But, you know, I've been focusing on shot defense because, you know, I can, you know, get it in on attack on any guy in the country. It's just a matter of when they get in on my legs, how I react to that. So I've been working on defense a lot over the summer, and you know, it showed in this tournament.
Yeah, well, you know, again, that match, it looked very, very sharp. So you leave day 1 3-0. You know, again, as you mentioned, quite a difference from previous years. So what's the end of day 1 ritual? You know, I know there's usually some kind of food in there with a nice little snack and you know, then a nice nap for you. But down there, you know, it's one of those things. It's like you finally get to be around the wrestling community. So even if you're going out to a restaurant, you know, you're seeing people walking down the streets that are wrestlers. You know, what was day 1, you know, after the tournament like for you?
So the way they did it this year is they kind of split up the day because they wanted, you know, less people in the gym at once. So so I was the morning session. So I was out of there at, you know, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there. So, you know, I had a good amount of time before, you know, I had to hit the hay. So I went out to eat. I got a rack of ribs. This is my go-to meal when I'm away.
There you
And
go.
then as soon as I got back to the hotel, I went right to bed, and didn't wake up till the next morning. I was pretty tired.
Yeah. Well, I make up the not competing, you know, having that adrenaline again. You're not used to that as much as you had been, where you're used to going up and down. You know, tough weight cut, just the whole environment. That's a long day. You know, 3 tough matches against, you know, in most other tournaments, what would probably be the finals, you know, in tournaments that you're used to. So, you know, you just keep knocking them down. You go home or you go back to the hotel, you get some rest, get some food in you, hydrate and all that. You wake up the next day, how are we feeling?
I felt great. You know, I kind of like the first day I still kind of felt my weight cut a little bit. And then, you know, the next morning I woke up and I like slept like a baby. And I just felt good.
All right, so then you come out and you start cracking quarterfinals, right?
Yeah.
Start to put pressure on yourself? Because I know how you think. You start
Yeah,
to,
no. I was putting a little pressure on myself. You know, I was one win away, you know, from placing, which like was my goal going into this tournament. And you know, I knew I was wrestling a kid from Ohio, and I definitely knew, you know, I can beat him. So I was like super anxious, super pumped, and you know, I think I kind of overlooked him a little bit, just like from how close the match was. I think I won like 5-3 or something like that.
that's exactly
I with like a last second takedown.
it.
So it was a good match. You know, I was definitely, you know, on my heels for most of it. I wasn't really ready for that, but you know, a win's a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, and again, you're at a very prestigious tournament. You're in the quarterfinals. Every one of them is going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And so you get through the quarterfinals. Now, what kind of pressure are you putting on yourself? Oh, I'm in the semifinals. Like, are you losing your mind, or are you like pretty stable?
I mean, I was already kind of losing my mind because you know, top six at Super 32s, which was like what I'm guaranteed at least. You know, I was, you know, as happy as could be. And you know, now I have a chance to wrestle the number 6 kid in the country. And I don't really have anything to lose. I'm a nobody compared to, you know, the names out there because you know, I'm not on Flow. I'm a kid from New Hampshire. And you know, I was super excited for the opportunity to wrestle.
So the semifinals, when you're in the arena. Obviously, I wasn't there this year, but you're in the arena. Are they? Do you feel the semifinals? Like, do they build it up a little bit? I know they do something for the finals, but is the semifinals just a couple of mats on the side where they're rolling through them, or is it like you can start to really feel the intensity in the gym because we're at the semifinals?
You could definitely start to feel that. I think, you know, we started out with like 24 mats or something like that, and now we're down to, you know, 5 or 6, I think it was. And you know, the Flow guys are commentating. There's like fences around the mats now. You know, everyone's trying to get us the best seat. So you know, it was definitely a big stage that I'm not really. I mean, I've been there, but not like to that level. And you know, the kid I was wrestling obviously, you know, has some pretty good credentials. But I mean, I went out there and, you know, I thought I wrestled pretty good, and you know, I wasn't disappointed in the way I wrestled. I mean, I was disappointed because I ended up losing. I think it was 5-2. But you know, it was 3-2, and I went for a last second takedown. So I mean, I was one takedown away from beating, you know, the 6th kid in the country. And you know, for me, like, that was huge confidence booster. You know, to know that I'm that close to being a top kid is, you know, it's a good sign.
It's a nice benchmark this early in the season. Who knows what it looks like? But so Bennett Burge, he's from Minnesota. 5'2", like you said, gave up a late takedown, but confirmed you belong there now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't ever just say, I'm just some kid from New Hampshire, because your zip code don't matter, my man. It's how hard you work and what you put in. And so, like, there are people that come from New Hampshire that end up in the NFL. So it doesn't matter where you're from. It's exactly what you're doing, working hard, doing all that. So don't ever downplay it. So you come out of the semifinals, obviously, disappointed that, the score didn't go your way, but understanding that there's levels here, and that kid might just be just today a hair higher. So now you move down into the Conci semis, and when you get down there, again, no rest for the weary, right? You got another kid, he's from Oregon, goes down 2-1. You know, I'm sure there was a letdown coming out of the semifinals going down to the Concis. But when you break out of that 2-1, and you know, I'm guaranteed at least 4. How you feeling?
I felt pretty good. You know, I was kind of scared. I didn't want to semi slide, you know, go get in the semis and play 6. That was, you know, a fear of mine. So, you know, I made a promise to myself that I'm getting to that 3rd, 4th match. And you know, it was a barn burner. I think I won an ultimate ride out to a kid that's really good. And it was a good match. I'm glad, you know, I wrestled to my best and, you know, got to that 3rd, 4th match.
Yeah, that's it. Again, when you talk about, you know, one of the reasons you had to kind of you had used to convince the people at NMH about getting down there was college coaches. And while no athlete wants to go out in the semifinals and lose, the college coaches are watching those kids to see how they deal with the adversity. Do they wash out of the tournament, or do they fight back and get you know, a 3rd or a 4th place? And I think that's a key component often missed on the youth level, where people think that if you don't win the tournament, that it wasn't successful. One kid wins, doesn't mean the rest of them don't have, you know, progress made in that time. So now, when you get down into the Conci semis, again 2-1 tight match. Then you get into the Conci Finals. You take on Joey Milano out of PA, and that one was probably the most lopsided and most points scored on you in the whole tournament. You know, I mean, 9-1. Was it he was that much better, or was it, you know, kind of the end of a long tournament?
I mean, I just really didn't wrestle good that match. You know, I wasn't ready to, you know, have that tough hand fight right off the gate. He was probably, you know, the biggest kid I wrestled, definitely the strongest, at least feel wise. And you know, he just his hand fight took a toll on me, and I kind of gassed out. And you know, I mean, I was pretty tired, like from previous matches. You know, I had 3 matches beforehand with like top guys in the country, so I was already kind of shot. But I mean, I was pretty disappointed with the way I wrestled in that match.
Well, you know, it's a long tournament. It's everybody's a stud. There's no weak wrestlers, so you know, it's nothing to hang your head about. You take note of it and you just get back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Super 32 over now, you know, obviously quarantined for a couple of weeks, a little bit at home, and then when you get back to NMH, what's wrestling season looking like at this point for prep schools?
So right now we don't have too much planned for anything before Christmas. But then for our school, we're doing online from January to February. So in that time, we're gonna go all over the country and hit like 4 tournaments as a team. And then hopefully in March, COVID is you know, settled down a little bit, and we'll have our New England's and national prep tournament.
Yeah, well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you and everybody else out there, my man. It's you know, it's some challenging times, and you know, like we do in a
Yeah.
challenging match, we'll figure it out. We'll get to the end of it. Um, so with the season kind of in limbo a little bit, you know, what are you doing to keep yourself motivated and, you know, like focused towards, like, you know, we're goal driven. So what are your goals right now? You know, usually they're pretty clear, but with the uneasy schedule, you know, what have you set up forth for yourself this season? And, you know, how do you know if it was a success?
You know, so far, you know, I've already had a good tournament under my belt. And for me now, if I do get to, you know, those few tournaments in January and February, March, you know, I'll judge it off how I do there. But right now, you know, like mentally, I'm preparing for, you know, national preps. It didn't really go my way last year, and you know, like that was my last match before this weekend, and you know, it just sits in my head, like, and I just think about it all the time. And you know, I definitely want to go back this year, even if it's small or even it's whatever, and just prove that I'm a prep national champ.
Love it. Well, stay on the grind, my man. It's a lonely one sometimes, but there's always people around you willing to push you up. So when you need it, you find them and get it. And academics first, because with no academics, there is no wrestling. There's no colors. So stay focused on your academics. Do your laundry. I know you don't like to do your laundry. Do your laundry. And I make up soon enough. I'll have my next Hanning on here, and it'll be your sister Lila, because she'll be that soccer superstar over in the dairy field. So I'm glad that the Hanning family is doing well. And as always, again, I appreciate your time. So you have a wonderful year, and as we progress through the season, you can be sure I'll find you again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Ben.
You got it, my man. We'll talk soon.